John had a house right on the river, and the last couple of days it had been raining. He turned on the TV, and the weatherman said that the storm of the century was coming, and if anybody lived near the river, he recommended they evacuate. John looked at the TV and said, "I'll be fine. God's going to save me." So it started raining. The water started rising. The water got to the door. His neighbors came by in a boat and said, "John, come with us. We'll help you evacuate." He said, "No, thank you. God's going to save me." It kept raining. The water kept rising. John had to go to the roof of his house. A helicopter saw him, went by, threw the rope down. "Come with us. We'll save you." He's like, "No, thank you, but God's going to save me. I'll be fine. Thank you." The helicopter flies away. The water rises. It picks him up off of his feet. It gets to his neck. He's gasping for air. And then he drowns. He gets to heaven, goes up to God and says, "God, why didn't you save me?" God looks at John and says, "John, I tried. I told you to evacuate. I sent you a boat. I sent you a helicopter. But you didn't accept my help. Everything you needed was right in front of you." When I heard this story, it made me realize that a lot of us students go through a similar situation. We have these goals, and we have all the opportunities, all the resources we need, but we don't take advantage of them. I particularly see this with aspiring entrepreneurs. They have great innovative ideas and say they want to start a business, but they never do. Today, I want to share with you why I believe one of the best times to start a business is while you're in college. This is a unique time in your life, and you should take advantage of it. For example, there's a lot of business plan competitions at almost every university, and even outside of universities, there's business plan competitions for students in which you can win free money. That is, money you can use for your business without giving up equity or going into debt. That's very rare out in the real world. Not only that, but you can present your idea to professional investors and get valuable feedback. Admittedly, starting a company when you're young is hard. You don't have experience, and experience is extremely important. It'd be great to have consultants, advisors, but those can be kind of expensive. But at school, you have those, although I prefer to call them professors. They're experts in their field, that their job is to help you, and they're more than willing to help you. Take advantage of that. Not only are professors willing to help you, but the school also wants you to be successful and has a lot of resources you could use. The University of Tulsa paid for me to travel to business plan competitions. They paid for my plane ticket, for my hotel, for my food, because they want me to be successful. But if I wouldn't have asked, I wouldn't have gotten that. I went to these competitions. I was pitching in Shark Tanks with 50 investors, getting asked questions that I had no idea what the answer was. It was crazy, but I learned so much. And if it weren't for my school providing me with that opportunity, I wouldn't have been able to learn what I did learn. Now, we talked about mentors, support from school. Another great opportunity is the ability to bring together a great team. Once you leave school, it's hard to find good talent. And once you do, usually they already have a job. It's different when you're in school. When you're in school, if you need to find an engineer, you go to the engineering professor, say, "Hey, I'm working on this project. Do you happen to know anybody that might be interested in helping me?" Or you do what I did. You walk into the cafeteria, you start asking random people if they know any web developers. I found my co-founder like that, and he turned out to be absolutely amazing. Take advantage of the fact that there's so much talent so close to you. Another great benefit is what I like to call the student card. Now, when you start a business, it's important to go out and talk to the potential users, potential customers, get their feedback, ask them questions, interview them. What are their needs? But if you put yourself in their position, imagine getting an email from a random stranger asking for an interview. You'd probably say no. That's when you pull out the student card. You use your EDU email address. You tell them you're a student working on a project and you would love for to get their feedback. You'd be surprised how well that works. And in many cases, maybe they can't meet with you, but they'll connect you with someone who can. People want to help students, but you need to take advantage of it. You could listen to all this advice, take advantage of all these things, and still fail. There's still that risk of being innovative, that risk of being an entrepreneur. But if you can handle that risk, if there's any time in your life where you can bear with that risk, it's now. Most of us don't have a family to support, children to feed, a mortgage to pay, car payments. It won't always be like that. There'll come a time in our lives when we need a steady income to feed our children. But till then, don't be afraid to be risky. Worst case scenario, you fail. But even if you fail, I guarantee you that in the process, you will learn more than in any class you've ever attended. That subject of failure is something we don't like to talk about. In school, getting an F is bad. In sports, losing is bad. Failure is never an option, right? But when starting a unique company, when trying to be innovative, I propose that you look at failure differently. Look at it this way. How many people, have you ever heard of anyone that did something no one's ever done before, and they did it on their first try? No. Records are broken all the time. But the people that break those records, they fail once, they fail twice, they fail hundreds of times. They fail and they practice, they fail and they practice. When striving to be innovative, when striving to start a new company, you're trying to do something that no one's ever done before. So the odds of you doing it flawlessly are very low. Embrace failure. Just make sure you fail fast and you fail forward. You learn from your failure. This failure is an opportunity to learn what didn't work. Now I know what doesn't work, I'm going to go look for what does work. Embrace these failures. I heard an interview of a Google employee. He talked about how an executive gave him a project and said, don't come back to me till you failed 5 times. Because he realizes the importance of failure. It is through failure that you learn. It is through failure that you learn. And you can't learn unless you actually start something. The best way to learn how to be an entrepreneur isn't by reading a book, it's by doing it. And as a student, I propose that we strive to fail early. What if we can get those big failures out of the way when you're in school? If they're going to happen, right? Now, you're still going to have bumps along the road when you get older, but get experience under your belt before you leave school so that when you leave school, you know exactly what it takes to start a company. I heard a story one time about a donkey. This donkey, he fell into a well, and he couldn't get out. His owner tried everything to get him out, and he just couldn't. Eventually, the owner said, you know what? The donkey's getting old, and I was going to cover the well anyways. So he starts shoveling dirt into the well. When the donkey finds out what he's doing, he starts crying, he's throwing a fit. But all of a sudden, he stops. The owner looks into the well, and he's astonished at what he sees. He sees the donkey shaking off the dirt, stepping on it, and using it to get closer to the top. So he keeps putting dirt into the well. The donkey gets higher and higher till eventually jumps over the well and starts running happily along the field. Life's going to throw dirt at us. We're going to have failures. We just need to make sure we're passionate about the problems we're trying to solve. We're passionate about the goals we're trying to achieve. We're so passionate that no matter how much dirt is thrown on our back, no matter how many times we fail, no matter how deep that well is, we're willing to shake that dirt off, step on those failures, learn from those failures, and grow one step closer to reaching that goal. And as students, maybe, just maybe, we can get close to the top of that well while we're still young. We can learn from those experiences while we're still young so that we can reach the top of that well earlier in our lives and we can be out on that field. Now, after the donkey was running around happily, He came back and he bit the owner. He bit him. And the moral of the story there is, if you mess up, if you make a mistake, don't try to cover your ass, because it's going to come back and bite you. Thank you.